Greetings and welcome, everyone. Today is May 5th, 2024, and Michael has contacted me this morning about a term that is very interesting and very intriguing to my research as well. And Michael, thank you for doing the research and putting these together, and we're really going to hit this one, I hope, out of the park today. Welcome, Michael.
Okay, thanks for having me, Brett. Yeah, it was a little bit of a mutual idea, I think, to go a little bit more deeper into the subject. But before we do, it is about a little bit more, enlarged series about science is the new religion. Actually, it's not science is the new religion, it is science fiction, which is the new religion. Because I guess science fiction, that's a word which I would like to look up in your dictionaries in the meantime. It is a combined word of science, which means knowledge, and fiction. And what does fiction mean, actually? Etymology says that which is invented or imagined in the mind. And I guess, Brett, that's not the reality then.
Dissimulation, ruse, invention, fabrication. Directly from Latin, directly from the Antichrist. A fashioning or fiending, noun of action from past principles, stem from fingere. I suppose that's French, or is it Latin? I don't know. To shape, form, devise, feign, originally to knead, form out of clay. Oh, isn't that interesting? Clay and iron.
Yeah, that's been mentioned here in Etymology Online as well. But the explanation actually goes a little bit further, and I found that extremely interesting when you go into fiction. The meaning, prose works, not dramatic of the imagination, is from the 1590s, like ratios to deorum, at first often including plays and poems. Narrower sense is, quote-unquote, the part of literature comprising novels and short stories based on imagined scenes or characters. It sounds a little bit like theater, right? By early 19th century. The legal sense of fiction of law is from 1580s. The writer of fiction could be a fictionist. The related Latin words, including the literal notion worked by hand, as well as the figurative senses of invented in the mind, artificial, not natural. So artificial intelligence, like for instance, Latin, fictilis, meaning made of clay, earthen, fictor, means moder, sculptor, also borrowed from 17th century in English, but also of Ulysses as, quote-unquote, master of deceit. Any questions?
Slammed it. That's it.
Ficto means a deception, a falsehood, a fiction. Something which is not real, because it is invented or imagined in the mind. Let's go to Ulysses, before anybody accuses me of he's just so fast. Yeah, right, we have a hit. Yeah, look what was stated here. This is a Latin name for Odysseus. The Odyssey, right? The Greek mythology. Somebody who slew the giant with the one eye, the Cyclop, right? That's Ulysses or Odysseus. Ever heard of Odysseus? I guess, all right? Odysseus? In Greek and Roman mythology, Odysseus, also known by the Latin variant Ulysses. See, there's the little trick. They don't tell you it's Odysseus, they say, Ulysses. A legendary, so never happened, Greek king of Ithaca and the hero of Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey. Odysseus also plays a key role in Homer's Iliad and other works in the same epic cycle. So anyone who's not familiar with the Odyssey of Odysseus, that's where the name actually derives from, I guess. One of two major ancient Greek epic poems attributed to Homer, that's a Greek poet. It follows the Greek hero Odysseus, king of Ithaca, and his journey home after the Trojan War. Remember Trojan horse? After the war, which lasted 10 years, his journey from Troy to Ithaca via Africa and southern Europe lasted for 10 additional years, during which he encountered many perils and all of his crewmates were killed. In his absence, Odysseus was assumed dead, and his wife Penelope and his son Telemachus had to contend with a group of unruly suitors who were competing for Penelope's hand in marriage. Yes, and so it's just a tale here, and there was a Cyclops. I am quite sure. Yeah, the Cyclops, that's the one-eye giant. Yeah, afterwards, Odysseus and his men landed on a lush, uninhabited island near the land of the Cyclopes, with the one eye. The men entered the cave of, Polyphemus, where they were found all the cheeses and meat they desired. Upon returning his cave, Polyphemus sealed the entrance with a massive boulder and proceeded to eat Odysseus' men, so the sailors. Odysseus devised an escape plan in which he, identifying himself as quote-unquote nobody, you know, another name of nobody, I can remember from Sherlock Holmes when we did that insert, is Nemo. Nemo, N-E-M-O. Plied Polyphemus with wine and blinded him with a wooden stake. When Polyphemus cried out, his neighbors left after Polyphemus claimed that nobody had attacked him. Odysseus and his men finally escaped the cave by hiding under the underbellies of the sheep as they were let out of the cave. Yeah, and there also are the sirens. Yeah, so it is full of mythology. The sirens, these are so mythical, what else to say? Singers, who can deceive any man. So therefore Odysseus ordered his men to bind him onto the ship so that he cannot get loose because he cannot be deceived by the sound of the sirens. That's all Greek mythology. Don't know if that is familiar, anybody familiar with that. They skirted the land of the sirens. Human-like beings with alluring voices, they appear in a scene in the Odyssey in which Odysseus saves his crew's lives. Roman poets placed them on some small islands called Sirenum and Scopoli. In some later rationalized traditions, etc., all of the sailors had their ears plugged up with beeswax, except for Odysseus, who was tied to the mast as he wanted to hear the song. He told his sailors not to untie him, as it would make him drown himself. Then they passed between the six-headed monster Scylla and the whirlpool Charybdis. Scylla claimed 6 of his men. Remember, any group, any pop group, maybe by coincidence, read that you are aware of who has that quote of Scylla and Charybdis in their text, in their lyrics. I'll be wrapped around your finger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Scylla and the Charybdis. So even Sting, the Police, they have in their example taken out of the Greek mythology. But so much so, I think that's more than enough. So it's not also Ulysses, but it's just Odyssey. So it's Greek mythology. And you see, Ulysses is just a Roman name. So interesting enough that they mention here the Roman name of the Greek legend who never existed called Odysseus. So it's another hint that this fiction has something to do with the Latin/Roman origin, because they are using Ulysses instead of Odysseus, Odyssey. But you can have it also both ways. You can also look in the King James Bible, for instance, 3:14. And the woman said, "The serpent beguiled me." And there you got your root nasha. And then you got to lead astray, mentally to delude, or morally to seduce, or to beguile, or to deceive. And there you got already your fiction. Right? And then it's also very interesting when in Nasha, Hebrew 5377, Strong's Concordance, is of course phonetically identical to the, what is it? National Aeronautic and Space Administration or Agency or what else? NASA. Nasha. Yeah. So much so, that's I wanted to clarify. So science fiction actually means something which did not happen, something which is just the origin of somebody's imagination. And it is a deception in any way because it forms the minds of the people who are just either listening or reading or watching a text, a movie or a book or what else, right? So this is then science fiction. Science fiction means it did not happen. It is just fiction. It is a deceit. It is artificial. So the official explanation of science fiction in Etymology Online is from 1929 in advertisements for so-called Air Wonder Stories magazine, though there is an isolated use from 1851, see science and fiction, because it's just a combined word, of course. Is there anything you can add to this, Brad?
Not that I can think of at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, so that's just, you see that it's a fixed term, science fiction, yeah, because even here in etymology, nowadays, usually, this combined word of science plus fiction now is a common phrase for something that somebody has imaginary projected onto a screen, into a book, or what else. So this is a fictional story about science, but science is knowledge. And when knowledge is fiction, yeah, then knowledge go back, yeah. When that is fiction or deceit, then means, yeah, that is so-called knowledge. This is not a real knowledge. This is just a deception here. So it is not knowledge. It is not expertness or knowing something. It is just believing something because it is a fiction. It never happened. It is like, let's say, the Assumption of Mary, right? Billions of people think that is science because the Pope said so. But I guess billions of people, they know that it's just vain deceit, it's just fiction because it never happened. It's the same with 1969 in July somewhere. 3 guys, Neil, Buzz and Michael, they just went on to have a jolly good time for a few days and were world famous afterwards. But it's just a fiction because it never happened. That is fiction. It's been presented to you as truth, but it is fiction. It is science fiction. It's not science, it is fiction. But when it is science fiction, then it is a lie which is combined, or it has been hidden, it has been disguised as being the truth. So it's like a little bit of the wolf in sheep's clothing, right? So this is then science fiction, because every science which is not related to the Bible and is not the truth is science fiction, and that actually is what 1 Timothy 6:20 speaks of. This science, falsely so called, you can read it, is science fiction. You want me to read? Yes, I do, Brett.
Oh. Sorry, Michael. I'm just out of it for a minute. 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called.
Yes. Brett?
Yes.
Is everything okay with your microphone settings? Because now the treble comes a little bit short here.
Oh, maybe because I'm talking not directly into the microphone.
Now it's getting better. Yeah, that's a cardioid microphone then, huh? Super cardioid. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I see. Okay, great. Now we have sorted this out. So there are many people who are not straight telling the truth. One of them recently I came across from our dear researcher Daryl Eberhard is that he has found an interesting video about this Alex Jones character who just loves to speak to audience and to show himself off. Yeah, but you see that all they claim to tell the truth, but it is science falsely so called. So if you believe that there were some planes in September, a long time ago, or not, it's not important. Important is that you realize that it has a numerous amount of occasions in any field of so-called science or in a school, in the textbooks, which are forged. And this is not by accident, but on purpose, to let people astray, to fool the people, to just deceive them, the same method that just also happened in the Garden of Eden. Because to beguile, the serpent beguiled me, means that the serpent used a kind of deception. And that happens all over the place. So when we go into the mainstream explanation of science fiction or sci-fi, or SF as the abbreviation of it, is a film genre, so it is especially movie And film means there is something on your lens. Yeah, that's a film. Yeah, that is moist, greased, dirt, what else? Humidity. Always look what film also can mean. A genre that uses speculative, fictional, science-based depictions of phenomena that are not fully accepted by mainstream science, such as extraterrestrial life forms, spacecraft, robots, cyborgs, mutants, interstellar travel, time travel, or other technologies. And I would be very careful because I guess, and I have a prime example for this, of course, I guess that there is much to it. Therefore, I went into James Cameron lately because he's also depicting science fiction there. And using that interesting example of the Terminator from 1984, you see, and that's my hypothesis, that things which have been presented on the screen can then create a kind of imagination to the audience. So it is science fiction, but the majority, or at least part of it, of the people, of the viewers, actually, they take it for real. They take it for granted. They don't take it as science fiction. They think that, yeah, but maybe there's something about it that's extraterrestrial. It could be true. And so you shape the minds of generations of people since the beginning of the invention of the moving pictures. And that is more than 120 years ago. Yes, that's a long time. There are several generations within the 120 years lifespan. Therefore, as a short example on this, we went into the cyberspace and cyborgs and all the stuff. Yeah, cyborgs, one mentioned here, and the most famous example, I guess, at least that Brett and me, I guess, can agree upon, would be Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator. So, I watched Kate's channel, and Kate's channel is one of many channels who are just talking about movies they watch for the first time and then they show their reaction. Most of it I don't watch, I cannot watch because people are just presenting themselves and say, look how interesting I am. But this Kate here on her channel, she's quite funny and she makes very good remarks. Yeah, because if somebody sees something for the first time, you see, then it is a little bit easier to think straight and out of the box, as have you then been seen the movie for 20 times and the explanation on Wikipedia. So just her explanation to this movie, The Terminator, is the following. When the female lead, called Sarah Connor in that movie, told her hero, which just saved her from the Terminator, what was it that was following me, trying to destruct and trying to destroy and kill me? And he said, yeah, that was a Terminator. Then her reply is the following, but they don't exist here. Yeah, it cannot be made. And he said, no, they cannot be made. You cannot make these things like that yet, not for about 40 years. I'm sorry if that subtitle is not complete here, but you see that sometimes it's quite difficult to get everything spot on. So they say in that movie that you can't create this kind of technology not for about 40 years. When had that movie been shot and published? In 1984. Could you please calculate a simple addition, Brett, of 1984 plus 40 years?
Yeah, that would be 2024, Michael.
Yes, and what year do we have?
The same.
The same. Interesting. Just only interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And her reply of Kate is, 40 years. Yeah, you see here now, not about for 40 years. She said, I'm here from the future. And my reply would be, careful, Kate, what you wish for. Because if you remember Elon Musk in his neurosciences and what else so-called science he's been stricken with, he says that he wants to help you by just connecting your brain to a machine so that you can enhance abilities, or maybe you can help disabled people and all the stuff. So careful what you wish for. Careful, Kate, what you wish for. Cyborgs, I think we can generally agree, is close to cybernetics. And last time we talked about this interesting Greek, once again, like Ulysses, Greek goddess called Cybele, if anyone remembers. And Brad was so kind to look it up in his library, and he sent to me today these scans of, what was it? Encyclopedia Britannica must it be, right?
Yeah.
Encyclopedia Britannica, yeah. So therefore, I would like to ask Brett to read it because it just come out of his books.
Oh, it's so interesting. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Let's go right into it. Cybernetics is the science of control and communication processes in both animals and machines. And by the way, I have a book in my kitchen that is the conciliar documents from Vatican Council II. And yesterday, when I was on the phone with a good friend of mine, I was telling him about, kind of my brainstorm with making these videos about the Pope speaking to Congress in 2015. And in the book, I can go get it when I'm done reading this, we will connect the dots here to communication. Okay, so just hold your breath on that. So cybernetics is the science of control and communication processes in both animals and machines. The word was introduced in the field, popularized by the mathematician Norbert Wiener in a book called Cybernetics, published in 1948.
Stop.
The field of cybernetics.
Stop. 1948 is the year that George Orwell wrote his book in 1984. Just remark from me. Sorry to interrupt.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of things are going to come together in this tiny little article on cybernetics. So let's, anything you got, Michael, just let's have at it. So the field of cybernetics deals with the theory of such systems as the nerve networks on animals, electronic computing machines, servo systems for the automatic control of machinery, and other information processing systems. Consequently, overlaps the field of neurophysiology, computing machinery, information theory, and automation, and seeks to find features common to these diverse principles. The Industrial Revolution of the 19th century, men's muscles were replaced by the power of steam engines. Men were still required, however, for all important control functions in connection with machines. In the 20th century, machines rapidly took over many of these functions. Machines came to control other machines. Instrumental in this trend toward automation has been the expanding technology of electronics and its offspring, high-speed automatic computing machinery. While the chemical industry and telephone systems were among the first to be highly automized, where am I?
Here. Such
other industries as automobile manufacturing rapidly followed suit. Cybernetics called attention to this widespread movement, and it named it the Second Industrial Revolution. Interesting how this kind of parallels with what Klaus Schwab is saying, isn't it? These control and communication devices bear the same relation to the steam engines of the first industrial revolution that brain bears to muscle. The control systems operate with a low expenditure of energy, and their mechanical efficiency is of little importance. Their basic function is not the transformation of energy, but rather the processing of information. The inputs of such systems are often the electronic equivalent of sense organs, thermostats, photoelectric cells, microphones, or strain gauges. The outputs are the equivalent of an animal's muscles or communicating organs, loudspeakers, electric typewriters, or electric motors. Internally, the information being processed takes the form of electrical signals occurring in various parts of the system. In cybernetics, information is treated as a statistical quantity. A signal is considerable to be a particular choice from a statistical ensemble of possible signals. The effectiveness of a control system in processing information must generally be measured by some kind of an average for all the possible signals in this ensemble. A feature common to many control systems is that the output of the system produces an effect on the input. In different sciences, this situation goes by different names. In communication engineering, it is called quote-unquote feedback. A control systems engineer speaks of a quote-unquote servo system or a quote-unquote closed loop system. Physiologists refer to quote-unquote homeostatic mechanisms, and psychologists to quote-unquote vicious circles, to name a few. It is by means of feedback that machines can simulate purposeful or technological behavior, a thermostat controlling a furnace in such a way to keep the temperature of a room nearly constant, or a computing machine controlling a guided missile in such a way as to follow a maneuvering airplane.
Yeah, thank you. So this is just a description of the fourth industrial revolution, where men are not longer needed, at least not in the quantity like before. So automation. And what have we learned about the cyberspace then, cybernetics? You see the science of control and communication processes in both animals and machines. So your cyborg is nothing else than a machine who has just been constructed to replace you. And the worst scenario of replacing somebody is to kill somebody. You see, with automation, one of the first pioneers, I guess, that I can remember is Henry Ford of Ford Automobiles in Detroit. When he built the Tin Lizzie and all the stuff, he could only build it for a decent price because of automation, because they had the same parts and all the stuff. And afterwards, after the Industrial Revolution and all the stuff, his cars were not so much handmade. So every modern car manufacturer nowadays, they are just using robots. Automation, machines, programmed, who can work 24/7. They don't have to sleep, eat, drink, and what else. Yeah, they don't belong to any union, labor, holidays. And on the...
Go ahead, Mike.
Please.
Keep going.
Yeah, and on the individual level, you see that these machines are much more stronger, more durable than any man. So it's cheaper to produce something with the help of the machine or an automation system run by a computer actually than anything else. And that is what is being depicted in the Terminator, that the Terminator is so powerful and almost indestructible that he can outrun and kill anybody. That's why he has been constructed that way. And I found that so interesting that you see this cybernetic is coming from 1948, then that 1948, George Orwell, Eric Arthur Blair, British intelligence, he wrote that surveillance horror scenario in 1984. And in 1984, the Terminator appeared, the first part of the franchise, so to speak, 1984, with Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, directed by James Cameron. And who knows who had the original idea. If you really believe that he had the idea in a dream, that it's just your belief. It is not knowledge. It is not science then. It is just a belief. I don't believe any bit that had been presented to me by Wikipedia. I have my doubts in many, many, many fields. Interesting that in 1984 they claim, okay, in 40 years, so these cyborgs are real or can be produced. Yeah, can be in 40 years, right? Would you like to make a time travel now from 1984 to 2024? Never heard of Boston Dynamics? And this is only what they tell you.
Such a show-off.
So this is only this what they are just telling you right in the open. And there is just much more to it. Because they are using also this as a surveillance for pandemics and all the stuff. Yeah, so that you have some robot dogs running around to protect you. Social distancing.
For those around you, please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you. Let's keep Singapore healthy. For your own safety and for those around you, please stand at...
Great, huh?
Boston Dynamics' new robots will make soldiers obsolete. Here's why. Military robotics technology is not far behind as our world becomes more advanced. If you have seen Corridor Digital's parody video...
Yeah, that is a parody, yeah, they tell you. So that is just CGI, they tell you. But are you sure? We do not know what is facts and fiction.
You may know what the future will look like. Don't worry, the realism of that video is a testament to the advancements in visual effects at the Los Angeles productions.
I don't want to know actually what they are just already have in stock. But I can imagine, given the discrepancy between what they are showing you, what they're admitting, and what they are actually do, I think there is quite a lot of achievements within the last 40 years. We will go into this Terminator for several reasons. And this Terminator from 1984, it seems a little bit ancient for the people because the effects were not up to date 40 years later. But it made a prediction about 40 years later, so about now. They claim, there is a cybernet, so a Skynet, a cybernet of an internet-like computer system who is then just steering all these Terminators because that machine has a self-awareness, so that another form of artificial intelligence. And this machine developed a new order of intelligence, and therefore it saw all people as a threat, not just the ones on the other side. But you see, the one side is the cybernet, a closed system of the internet of things, or just the internet electronically, artificially. And so therefore the system says, oh, I have to protect myself, so therefore anybody who could violate me, who could shut me down, who could interfere with my actions, a little bit like Hell 9000 on the 2001 movie of Stanley Kubrick. This is my enemy because he's capable of just corrupting my mechanism. And also from the view of the machine, every man, woman is not divinely created, but it's just a waste of garbage. He sweats. He stings, he has bacteria, grease on his fingers. Yeah, so everything which would then not be 100% hygiene or clean. Yeah, so the machine can see any human as an enemy. So that is their fiction in 1984. But is it really fiction? You see, because 35 years later or 5 years ago, there was something happening outside where a so-called test labeled anybody who was violating a certain criteria, tested him as positive. And so he was labeled as a threat to society. That happened 35 years after Terminator 1. So let's dive more into this. Wikipedia says science fiction films have often been used to focus on political and social issues and to explore philosophical issues like the human condition. Haha, yeah, to focus on political and social issues or to form public opinion. What was the book of Edward Bernays? Crystallizing Public Opinion, right? That was a book that Joseph Goebbels, the Reich propaganda minister, used extensively. So, to crystallize public opinion, yeah? Show them 24/7 advertisements, show them things on your smartphone, bombard them with ABC, CBS, CNN news all the time, and they will believe it. The genre, Wikipedia explains, has existed since the early years of silent cinema when Georges Méliès, let me add, it was a Jesuit, published A Trip to the Moon 1902 and employed trick photography effects. The first time that, according to my knowledge at the time, depicts a one-eye symbolism in the moon and in the movie, actually, on the left side. That's from 1902. On the right side, you see the science fiction of 1969, but they sell you as science and not as fiction. Or, in other terms, 1968, you got Stanley Kubrick as a blueprint how to make pictures believable, right?
Well, yeah, Michael, that's kind of where it's interesting you ask about that, because there's some serious parallels going on with the term cybernetics and how that relates to this entire, what can we call it, the plan that they've put forward to deceive the whole world, like the science fiction of the moon landing, right? So yeah, you have your science fiction movie 2001 A Space Odyssey coming out 33 years before the year 2001. And then, but long before that, I wanted to read this this little paragraph here on page 283 of Vatican Council II, the conciliar and post-conciliar documents.
Can I just step in before you read anything?
Please.
Because it's great that you mentioned 2001, because you see the parallel, huh?
Yes.
Yes, you see that in fiction, they claim it is coming from Ulysses, the meaning of deception. And Ulysses is nothing else than the Latin name for Odysseus. And then you got 2001, A Space Odyssey, which is the journey of Odysseus. And slowly, everything is again connected.
I didn't get that. The journey of Odysseus.
Odysseus is the Greek character, and his traveling, his story,
Odysseus
is Odyssey.
Oh.
Yeah, this is about Ulysses. Yeah, but his Greek name is Odysseus. And his tale of Homer, of his travelings, of his journeys, 10 years journey, etc., is called the Odyssey. And now you got 2001, A Space Odyssey. And etymology declares that fiction means deceit coming out of Ulysses, so Odysseus.
Oh, so a space deceit is what it means.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah, actually, it would be a space fiction then. Yeah, but Odyssey means that is a travel. You see, that it's a play of words. Odyssey means it gets even better with the explanation. Odyssey is one or two major ancient Greek epic poems about the journey after the Trojan War, right? But Odysseus is a legendary figure. It is just a poem. A space odyssey means a space legend of Ulysses, that never happened. Because the Odyssey is just a fiction. It's just a poem. It's just a tale. It is a fairy tale of the Greek poet Homer. It never happened. And this is a space odyssey, which actually means that it never happened. So you can see that on a different level then. And then, of course, you got the connection 33 years later to 2001 with the planes who were just smashing into skyscrapers, planes who cannot be found in Pennsylvania, planes who are just creating circular holes in the Pentagon without any wings.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, bam, 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 bam. And it's all science fiction. They claim it is science. It's the truth mainstream says, and everybody tells it, and nobody argues about it because everybody talks with the same voice. But Odyssey means it never happens. It is just a fairy tale, a space fairy tale. But in that movie, 2001, which happened to be released in 1968, it is about a computer, HAL 9000 with a red eye, same eye as a surveillance mechanism as the Terminator, left eye red, who is just trying to control the people because the people wanted to shut him off because that computer killed already one guy, one so-called astronaut. Naut. An astronaut means nautics means water, right? The water's above the sky. But nobody gets that joke because nobody reads the Bible anymore, I guess. So, back to you. That was just a small remark.
Well, that's a good remark. That's a very good remark. And yeah, so the decree on the means of social communication, this is Vatican II Inter Mirifica, 4th of December, 1963. Man's genius has, with God's help, produced marvelous technical inventions from creation, especially in our times. The Church, our mother, is particularly interested in those which directly touch man's spirit and have opened up new avenues of easy communication of all kinds of news and ideas and orientations. Chief among them are those means of communication which of their nature can reach and influence not merely single individuals, but the very masses and even the whole of human society. These are the press, the cinema, radio, television, and others of a like nature. These can rightly be called, quote, the means of social communication, unquote. I just wanted to just briefly touch that because this is huge.
Yeah, I could not find it in this due time because of the Second Vatican Council. I typed just in Inter Mirifica and they just explained it a little bit different. But yes, of course, they say that they own the right to possess any kind of media. Yeah, that's the second part here. The Catholic Church, since it was founded by Christ our Lord to bear salvation to all men, and this is obliged to preach the gospel, which is totally incorrect. It is therefore an inherent right of the Church to have at its disposal and to employ any of these media. Bang.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
Happening 40 days after the official assassination on JFK.
Yes.
Therefore, in all the years of research that I did, I believe that is just a fabrication.
Yeah, like the Isidorian decretals were a fabrication.
I meant the Zapruder movie on that regard.
Sure, but I mean, it's there's so much fabrication.
Yes, yes, it is. But that's then science fiction. But you sell it as science. You teach it in the school.
You sell it as religion here.
You sell it as religion, and you teach it in the school. Children get good grades, and adults get great rewards and benefits of great social status, job, wealth, luxury, recognition, Nobel Prizes. And so I think that is happening on purpose. Yeah, first you make it appear as a fiction, and later on you claim, now we have achieved the impossible.
Yes, but it's all fiction.
It's all fiction. The next major example, first in feature length in the genre, was the film Metropolis 1927. Metropolis famously features a robot, Mariah.
Yeah.
What does Terminator feature?
Upside down pentagram behind her.
Yeah. So once and for all.
Mm-hmm. The bishop's seat.
So there you got your... Where is it? Yeah, that's the best I can come up with. Yeah, there you got your satanic origin. There you got your machine man. At least in the movies. And what does Terminator 1984 depicts? 57 years later, after Metropolis, it depicts CGI as to appear as that Terminator metallic skeleton would be real, right?
Us humans and you robots.
Yeah, nowadays we are interviewing robots.
Just kidding.
We have citizenship of Saudi Arabia. Sophia means wisdom.
Innovation, exploration, and problem solving.
And now, can you guess what will happen in 40 years from now?
I know that was a joke that robots could take over the world, but
I won't be there.
What's to stop you?
And I don't regret it, I guess. But you see that I think that is just a workable hypothesis, that they just try out something in the movies like, oh yeah, we are visiting from outer space, and some generations later they claim, yeah, from outer space, yeah, there was something, I've seen something, and somebody remembers a movie 50 years ago, and yeah, they have spoken about it, and the newspapers, and this and that interviewer, and on that television station. From 1930s to 1950s, the genre consisted mainly of low-budget B-movies. After Stanley Kubrick's landmark 2001: A Space Odyssey, 1968, the science fiction film genre was taken more seriously. May I ask you, Brad, do you know when the Vatican Council II had ended?
I think it was 65.
Yes, I think too.
Mm-hmm.
I think too. So, and Inter Mirifica was been published in 1963.
Correct.
Yeah, so in the 1960s, they could openly admit that they own the media.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that you see, at least after 1963, is highly likely that the Vatican has some foot into the door.
Vatican Council II ended in December of 1965, yes.
Yeah, quite fitting December, sure. Mm-hmm. The end of their year. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So 2001, A Space Odyssey, so a journey of Odysseus, yeah, with the deception of he lied, yeah, to save his life, he lied to the Cyclops with the one eye. Yeah, and now you see here the symbolism of 2001. You see an octagon shape like the mark of Cain. like in CERN, and you see this strange kind of a space station, a kind of a twin circle with a cross in it. So either you smile about a circle and a cross, or maybe you like to depict it as a movie reel, right?
It can also be depicted as a infinite symbol, and when you look at it at the form it's in at the moment, like a figure eight.
Yeah.
Because the circles are intersecting there.
It's even more real than the moon landing. Because you see some stars.
Yeah.
In the late 1970s, big-budget science fiction films filled with their special effects became popular with audiences after the success of Star Wars in 1977 and paved the way for the blockbuster hits of subsequent decades. Star Wars. First of all, in Star Wars here, one character which I would like to see is missing. And that is C-3PO. I'm sorry that I just captured the wrong picture. That is Star Wars. The same robot, C-3PO, has been modeled after Mariah of Metropolis. So Star Wars, of course, is Revelation 12.
Yes, and that reads, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born."
Sure, and so that in Revelation 12 you see then also it has been mentioned there was war in heaven. Yeah, so there was war in heaven in verse 7. I'm sorry, I missed it. Yeah.
Yes, and it was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought in the dragon fought in his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can use as a blueprint. Yeah, Star Wars means the war of the fallen angels against the Almighty God and his angels. And then when they depict something of a laser sword and some depict of a Darth Vader of the Dark Lord, and you depict some kind of robots in that war, then maybe it's just also a prediction for the future. Who knows? Which has only been fiction, and sold as fiction can be the truth tomorrow. So take a sneak peek at all the stuff they are doing. One of the main characters of Star Wars is Luke Skywalker. Then you just only have to remember the book of Job.
Yeah, Job chapter 1, verse 6. "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it."
Yes, walking. Skywalker. In the Star Wars, yeah. So Skywalker also can be seen as an allegory for Satan. Humans and many species of aliens, often humanoid, coexist with robots in Star Wars. So then, it's just the introduction of transhumanism then, even in Star Wars. Yeah, Starfighter, Star Wars. The universe of Star Wars is generally similar to the real universe, but its laws of physics are less strict, allowing for more imaginative stories. Fiction, huh? One result of that is a mystic power known as the Force, which is described in the original film as, quote-unquote, an energy field created by all living things that binds the galaxy together. That sounds a little bit like ether, or let's say it as gravity and the sun rays, when it is concerning then Isaac Newton. The field is depicted as a kind of a pantheistic god. I see. Through training and meditation, so Hinduism and all the stuff, those whom the Force is strong with exhibit various superpowers, such as telekinesis, precognition, telepathy, and manipulation of physical energy. Or let's say, would you like to be Superman if you are just in alliance with the fallen angels? So You only have to exchange the names, and then you have a slight idea what a big possibility would be that they are just trying to achieve to make people ready for the things to come. It is believed nothing is impossible for the Force. The mentioned powers are wielded by 2 major knightly orders. Huh? The Jedi, the Peacekeepers, and the Dark Forces, the Sith, the Dark Side, sure. The Dark Lord. Yeah, it's like the same Lord of Phil Collins.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Numerous well examples of science fiction horror films epitomized by such pictures as Frankenstein and Alien. We talked about this before. Metropolis as a blueprint. I don't want to steal anybody's time, but I'm just making here the shortcut. In 1950, the release of Destination Moon, which they officially achieved 19 years later, and rocket ship XM brought us to what many people consider the golden age of the science fiction film. Or The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is a totally BS because the Earth stands still. Or The Thing from Another World. Yeah, which world? Maybe the spiritual world, but they won't tell you. The War of the Worlds, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I've talked about this. Forbidden Planet, Invasion of the Body Snatcher. So everything you can mix in together in the agenda which they would like to present. I guess there is a certain rule. The more successful a picture is, the more likely it is that it will be accepted by the general audience. Can you imagine my kind of hypothesis, Brett?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can.
Okay. So that could also be a test then of the audience, if the audience will fall for it or if the audience just rejects it, right?
Sure.
So then you got the Earth versus Flying Saucers, which is of course 9 years after Roswell. Then successful monster movies, 1954 film Godzilla, of course with the atomic ray of Godzilla, with the title Monster Attacking Tokyo, gained immense popularity. Therefore, without Godzilla, I guess Jurassic Park would never have been so popular, maybe. Then they got special effects, from stop motion to more sophisticated stuff. Warning from Space sparked Stanley Kubrick's interest in science fiction films and influenced 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yes. Yeah, the CIA owns everyone of any significance in a major media. Yeah, you see that the CIA is just only the American division of the Vatican. There was never a space race between the USSR or the Russians and the United States. This is just another fiction as the Cold War between Kennedy and Khrushchev. But of course it has been used as a kind of a valve so that people say, okay, yeah, that's on a broad scale. We have to fight communism in the West and we have to fight capitalism in the East. So it's just divide and conquer strategy. Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey brought new realism to the genre, while its groundbreaking visual effects and realistic portrayal of space travel influenced the genre with its epic story and transcendental philosophical scope. Yeah, sure. It was the time of the transcendental meditation, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, 1968. So, then we have French New Waves. Alphaville, 1965, posited a futuristic Paris, the capital city of France, commanded by an artificial intelligence which has outlawed all emotions. I came across this today and I said, I thought it was 2001 in 1968, which just introduced the smart computer as an artificial intelligence. But no, even in 1965, there was a futuristic movie, black and white, from France called Alphaville, where everything has been under surveillance. And this is nothing else than 1984 on steroids. Or the story that Eric Arthur Blair, George Orwell pinned down in 1948 with Big Brother. That's another variation of Alphaville. Alphaville means the first city. Yeah, Ville means city, Alpha is just the first. So that's a French movie. Very cool movie, actually. So rushing to the script at this moment because we want to just shut it down, because next time we will go really into one movie and then all hell will break loose. Films such as Total Recall have popularized a thread of films that explore the concept of reprogramming the human mind. And even they claim that Total Recall's bulging eyes scene when somebody is just losing their oxygen support, I guess it was on the surface of Mars, the planet Mars, the red planet red because of blood and the planet of the Roman god of war. Total Recall's eyes of Arnold Schwarzenegger budging out scene is somewhat scientifically accurate, they tell you. So, Paul Verhoeven, Total Recall. He also did the science fi classic RoboCop, which is a robot cop, of course. So, RoboCop, 1987. I have not inserted a picture here, but I guess that is just commonly known. RoboCop in 1987. So, and 40 plus years later, you find robo dogs in the city of Singapore during the COVID pandemic, controlling the cities because of social distancing. Yeah, so much so, 45, 50 years between fiction and reality then. So we are just moving ahead to a dystopian, so a very bad future. This RoboCop is half man, half human. Yeah, because that was a disabled man, if I remember correctly, and then been attached to the machine that he can live and then he can serve and protect the state. So that's RoboCop. My. So in RoboCop is nothing else than Terminator on this for the police, for the state. Total Recall is based on Philip K. Dick's story. We can remember it for you. Philip K. Dick also pinned down the story of Blade Runner, if you know this. Schwarzenegger also takes the lead. The theme of brainwashing in several movies of the 60s and 70s, including A Clockwork Orange, 33, and The Manchurian Candidate, coincided with secret real-life government experimentation during Project MK Ultra. The only thing that is totally incorrect is coincided, I guess. Because I don't think there are any coincidences. And I don't necessarily believe in MK Ultra. I think there's much more going on than MK Ultra. I think that MK Ultra is the information that could have been let out as a distraction from a bigger program, because actually every civilian has been programmed with the television bread.
Yes, so MK is mind control with a K instead of a C.
Yeah, they claim it is coming from Germany, from the Third Reich. It's been mentale Kontrolle, so mental control in German. Yeah, so mentale Kontrolle, mental control. So control of your mind. Yes.
Mental control. Yes.
So nowadays people and miners want to be transformers so they can transform. And so that's transhumanism. Yeah, transform everything. Logan's Run, the robot box, we have talked about this.
Oh yeah, there was a you know, the song for the selling of those toys, the Transformers. The slogan was "Robots in Disguise." Isn't that interesting? Because now we have transhumanism, which means, you know, sticking in the chips inside under the skin. You don't even know you have them. Called, you know, vaccination. But anyway, yeah.
And you can't differ which is fiction and what is fact because you don't know it. Yeah, you see that everybody can play tricks on you. Mass media as well as alternative media. Best example then would be just Alex Jones. Yeah, claims to be an independent researcher and is on the payroll of, you guess who.
Yeah, my guess would be that Alex Jones is a 33rd degree Freemason.
My guess is that he's just profiting from all this deception, so therefore I know who he is. I don't need to know what kind of order he belongs to, because I know that he's not a Bible-believing Christian, because he's lying.
Yeah, he's a liar.
So...
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Michael.
Yeah. I found it always very suspicious when he just was entering the Bohemian Grove and shot these pictures then and was not harassed or just been confined of trespassing or so. That I found quite awkward to boast with this against a secret society so powerful than Skull and Bones and the alike. I found that very strange.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that it depends on which kind of level of awakening or just a level of truth you are. In the end, you have to ask anything. In the end, you have to ask everything. You don't have to believe anybody. That's the problem with it. You see that everybody can lie. And if somebody would ask anybody on the street, did you ever lie? Everybody would say yes, because we lied sometimes in our lives before we were reborn, or on which occasion. So,
it's just, yeah, it's the nature of our fault.
We have been educated with lies. Our parents were the first liars that said, oh yeah, if you don't behave, the Easter Bunny won't come. Yeah, Santa Claus will pass by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, this is just usual. Yeah, tradition is more valuable than the truth, actually, in this world. It's all about money. Sweeties.
Mm-hmm.
Sweeties, candies, presents, money, gifts, gatherings, holidays. So I guess that we will close it down here on our next introduction into the main subject. The main subject will be this movie. The main subject will be this movie, The Terminator, for several reasons. And this will be interesting because I have seen many videos about the Terminator. I've seen the most of the movies, and I got quite another idea that was then the majority of people who are just talking about this movie. I don't want to talk about Mr. Schwarzenegger or anything else. I just want to show you that is also a blueprint of the things to come. And I'm not speaking about this Terminator machine robots alone. There is a much bigger agenda behind it. And so therefore, join us then next time when we go into the Terminator. Finally, because this is science fiction from 1984, and they tell you 40 years later, then they can create a Terminator. So now we're getting into 2024, full swing, and we will see what's the fiction and what's the fact about the Terminator, or what's the fiction and what's the fact about science. Because I need that remark. It is because of that guy that we think that all is relative, and that we think that we can travel through time, and that there are wormholes and black spots and what else, and all is relative and also time. It is because of this guy that the model of the universe is displayed the way it is. It is because of Einstein's theory of relativity. Without this, time travel could not be explained by the usual physics. But time travel is a big, big, big condition to send a Terminator back from the future. So, thanks for having me. Thanks for taking the time, Brad. Thanks for your nice scans you did today. And looking forward for the next time. Signing off, and Maranatha. Please read your Bible and don't be scared.
See you next time, God willing. God bless, and bye-bye.